everyone. Hi everyone. Welcome to Meshery's Build and Release call. This is the meeting where we discuss about different DevOps related stuff and the CI/CD as well as the testing framework which Meshery uses for different components. So before we get into the meeting, let's take care of your housekeeping item. That is, ensure that your name is in the meeting minutes. So I shared the link in the chat. Ensure that name is there. And in case you are new to this call, then make sure you introduce yourself to others in the community. I can see Devarsh, which is new on the call. Would you like to introduce yourself? He might be having some network issues, so we'll let you introduce yourself in the chat. Um, so let's just wait for 1 more minute and then we can start, considering more folks are joining. Okay, so let's start. The very first item is a standing item, which is basically an item which we discuss in all the CI/CD calls. So this Meshery test plan is basically a spreadsheet which helps give you an high-level overview of different tests that runs in Mesh in different repositories of Meshery, as well as different tests that should be running as in a plan which Meshery should be following for its testing framework. So it includes a number of different sheets under each spreadsheet. So let's talk about this one first of all. So this one gives you, like, if we talk about this, it has a number of different columns. Like if we talk about Meshery repo, in that we have a number of workflows. It gives you a link of each workflow, which you can check out, and it explains like on what particular action on which that workflow runs, if there are any prerequisites, as well as what is the system under test and when it runs and the type of test and build it is. So this is quite helpful if you're new to the project and you like to know more about what different tests are there in Meshery. And ideally, knowing tests gives you a very quick overview of what a project is about, because tests generally takes care of different functionalities of a project. So you can very quickly understand what a project is about. Um, so that's about this spreadsheet. And the other one, which is more important one, is about the E2E tests. So this spreadsheet is basically about giving an overview of what kind of tests Meshery, especially different E2E tests of different frameworks. Let's say if Meshery CTL, the work, like let's say we are testing the installation of Meshery to Meshery CTL, and this sheet basically gives you an overview of like whether it's being covered under any of our E2E tests or not, and what kind of the and what's the scenario of the test, as well as what the test is under what platform it is testing. Um, so we discussed this on the last call as well. Like if you are interested in knowing, if you are interested in contributing to the project, then, and especially in this area, then you can take any of these leftover items for the test. Like if you can see currently this test and this test are not being covered in a E2E test. So if you're interested in this, then you can create an issue on this specific test, wherein you can add this information on the issue, and you can create an issue and link it to over here, so that any of the maintainers can assign it to you, and then you can start working. And one best part about tests is that like you don't need to even know Golang for that, because you can do the test in Bash script. So that is it about this V or 0.7.0. And like earlier, like a couple of other contributors like used to give their name on the spreadsheet so that it can be easily tracked. Like one of the contributors, like Philip, is working quite a lot on our testing framework. I think he's not present today, so we might cover some of his items. So that is about it. And before moving forward, I can give you a quick overview of one of the E2E tests that we have. Let's say if you go to Meshery Istio, Meshery Istio is an adapter of Meshery that helps for adding different functionalities of Istio service mesh with Meshery. So if you go under workflows and if you go to E2E test, then we basically the work of this test is to actually test the basic functionality of this adapter, that is provisioning of Istio service mesh and whether all the important ports come up or not. So basically what this workflow does is that first it provisions Meshery. First it starts a Kubernetes container, Kubernetes, and then it starts Meshery onto that Kubernetes using Meshery CTL. Once Meshery starts boots up, then Meshery is used to provision Meshery used to provision Istio service mesh using this adapter. And we do that through one of the designs that we have. And then we check whether the specific ports for that Istio service mesh comes up or not, like Istio-D, Istio egress gateway as well as Istio ingress gateway. Once all these comes up, then what we do is that if these comes up, then we make sure that we enforce it that the test passes, otherwise it doesn't. And once that is done, what we do is that if you go to docs.meshery.io, then we'll actually see a compatibility matrix. Basically, the work of this compatibility matrix is to give you a high level overview of which specific, currently it's about service meshes, but basically it gives you an overview of which adapter is compatible for provisioning the specific service meshes. As you can see currently, the Istio adapter, which you were just saying, it passes all the tests as of now. As you can see, one of the tests was just provisioned a few days back. And you can check that for the stable release of the adapter as well as the edge release. And like that, we need to ensure that all the adapters are passing. So currently, a couple of them are not passing. And that is the place where somebody would like to take care of it who are present on the call. So anybody would like to work on this area? So I'll pause for a minute for others to ask questions. You can ask any questions if you have related to this. Okay, considering nobody have no questions, that's also fine. So in case you like to work on this area, what you can do is that you can go to the specific adapter. Um, let's say you want to Meshery Istio adapter is already working fine, but you can first of all check which adapters are failing currently. Let's say Nginx. Though there was one of the maintainers added a fix for it, but okay, let's say Nginx is not working. So what you have to do is you can click on you can go to the Nginx service mesh. Basically you will find that in Meshery organization, and once you find out, you can create an issue that you would like to fix this specific workflow, and then any of the maintainers will assign you that issue. Okay, so I think Tejas has a question. Yes, Tejas.
Hi Pranav. I am a newcomer to this project, Meshery, and I just want to have some knowledge about adapters in Meshery. Can you give me a short, brief intro about it?
Yes. Okay. So first of all, would you like to introduce yourself? Then
Yes.
I'll.
Hello everyone. I am Tejas Kumar. I am currently undergraduate student and is looking to contribute to open source. And I just stumbled upon Meshery and is trying to contribute to it. I'm getting used to the project actually.
Okay. Yes. Okay, so let me give you an overview. Let's say we talk about Meshery Nginx adapter. So first of all, Meshery as a tool helps you provision your different infrastructure. One of one of the many ways of Meshery as a tool also integrates with a lot of different integrations. As of today, Meshery supports 200 plus integrations. Now, one of the way of integrating with service meshes is through adapters. So Meshery as of today supports 10 service meshes, and for each service mesh, there is an adapter. The work of the adapter is to extract the different functionalities of service meshes and expose them to the to Meshery. So basically, let's say if you have Nginx service mesh, so for that we would be having this Nginx adapter. Okay. Now the work of this adapter would be when Meshery will boot up. If I could, okay, let's. If you could check the architecture of Meshery, you understand it in a much better way. But when Meshery boots up, it connects to these adapters through gRPC call. Once the connection is made, then this adapter exposes the functionality of each of these. Let me show you. Okay, so if you go to Playground, you'll see that all the different service meshes capabilities are exported through these adapters. So you can directly install a service mesh through this UI. You can uninstall them. You can install their sample applications. You can uninstall them as well. And you can, all these functionalities are actually exported to those adapters. So that's the working of these in a very high level overview. But yes, that's it. And if you like to know more about it, then you should definitely check out the documentation because all these are like very detailed explained over here. So for each adapter, you can read more about it, like in this the documentation. So I hope that answers your question. So we'll move forward. Weber, Mora, like yours is the next item. Would you like to take from here? Would you like to discuss this? Weber, are you with us?
Hello, I'm audible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to ask for this issue. Let me
Okay.
share my screen first.
Yeah, sure.
Is this visible now?
Yes. Yes, it
So,
is.
the issue was with this, the Fred. Uh, one minute. So this was the issue, and Fredis has reviewed this PR. So this is and Fredis has suggested me some of the changes like here latest edge image and older edge image. So I want to know more about this, and uh, is this okay for this paragraph I added, and uh, I want to know more about that Meshery edge release for this basically how I should proceed with this.
British, would you like to add on anything to it based on your comment?
Uh, yeah, sure. Okay, like on the main issue actually, if you look inside of the release, can I just share my screen for quick?
Sure.
Okay, let me share my screen. Uh,
Mm,
all right, so okay, the new thing about the release was the fact that there is now a version release of Meshery, so it was supposed to be added inside of the documentation. That's actually why I suggested to also add it inside of that part. Yeah.
So, so you mentioned here the image. So this is about latest edge image, also about older edge image.
Actually, I was just suggesting for latest image, but for the older one, I'm not sure about that. I was just suggesting for latest image.
Okay. Uh, so okay, I will.
Basically, the issue is about like you need to ensure that you give extra documentation about the recent changes, about
Yeah.
supporting version edit releases. So Friedrich is just saying that if you can add a little more dynamicism where we show the actual release tag for the specific
Yeah.
release version. So that is what he was asking.
Yeah.
It's bouncing for me, means as a newcomer, it's difficult for me for this now. But uh, if I get something little bit more about this, so it will be helpful for me.
Okay, we can probably discuss this on Slack where we can give you more information if you like, so that we can move on to the next one.
Thank you.
But yeah, we can discuss on Slack. Okay. Okay. So moving on. I think next item is from Subiri on adding performance profiles for each two crypto configuration.
Yeah.
Subiri, are you okay? Would you like to take it?
Okay. So the first thing is adding the uh, H2 crypto performance profile. The status is same like I discussed earlier. I am like currently stuck in this particular error. I guess Uzair is not back yet, so we could not have that discussion with him. So this is the error I'm like getting stuck in for the H2 crypto. And okay.
I think Uzair recently added a change where all the operators would be auto deployed when you deploy a design. So I don't think this should be an issue in the latest release.
Uh, so in the latest release, the H2 operator or this particular operator is statically registered. So that's one problem. I guess this is something other like or or was there any new error that I missed? The statically registration problem, it's solved and it's working till there. But after this, like when I try to deploy it, the uh, as you can see, like some of the components do get deployed, but it gets like one particular component failed to deploy.
Have you tried this in the playground right now? Because we just were debugging this and it was working.
Okay, I have not
Because
in Playdown right now, like as of now.
yeah, because latest changes, what latest changes does is that it checks for dependencies and auto deploys all the CRDs and operators. So you okay, we can try it on the playground. Will you be able to go to playground right now and try
Yeah.
that? So for those who are new on the call, Playground is an hosted instance of Meshery, which basically helps you to directly see all the different functionalities, and it's hosted on CNCF hosted environment, and you can actually do all the things which you can do on Meshery directly here. So it also has a connected Kubernetes cluster, so you don't have to bring your own cluster as well. So that's a great way of getting started with the project. So I think Vaibhav, you wanted to know more, so you can directly get started from here if you haven't used this so far.
This is the one, right? Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, yeah, it does say deployed.
Okay. Let's check and visualize it like there's things come up.
Mhm.
You should see EST operator namespace and okay.
Yeah, it's deployed.
Yeah, it's deployed. So working
Okay.
fine. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, I'll try it again in the CLI, and if there's a more error, I'll inform in the Slack.
Yeah.
And okay, another thing is that I was trying to fix the performance profiles that were scheduled performance profile that were failing. And for the Istio schedule performance profile, the last time I said was we were using this particular service, yeah, minimalistic book info, which was failing, which was I guess something related to model that was not changed. So instead of using this, I opted this one, like book info pattern, which was changed recently to accommodate the new changes in Meshery. But with using this too, I'm getting some error about networking not found. Yeah, could not find component with virtual service.
Yeah, so just use the newer version of that sample app. It's likely that V1 Alpha 3 is, maybe that has changed. Maybe it's now in beta, but if you're using an older,
Yeah, I
Okay.
used this one, yeah, which was updated last.
Virtual services, like, do you have adapter running side by side?
Yeah, I guess the adapter is deployed before. Yeah, Meshery Istio. I did run it again, and okay, this is something else. But yeah, this was there.
It's probably a registration issue because if you see, like, virtual service is part of Istio model, like
Okay.
in your design, but it's not. It's saying that virtual service component is not available. That means the registration with the adapter didn't go well. So I think that's an issue with we just discussed. We have to look into that.
Okay, I'll try this again. Then, if I again face this error, I'll again end this in Slack. But just to be sure, this particular pattern is okay, right? To use for our schedule performance profile.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's right. So once I'll check this also, and I will be checking for Linkerd and Linkerd also. So there's also some endpoint issue. Like when we run the app, it does not exactly goes to the specified gateway URL. So yeah, I'll have to check that iteratively, and we'll also report that quickly.
so Subedi, just refreshment, the state of your ability to deploy the WebAssembly filters, that's an open investigation for you, or you're blocked?
Okay, WebAssembly filter. Yeah, it's an open investigation. I have not wait, I have not done it. Like so within I have not done it. No, yeah. I've still not done the deployment of WASM filters.
Okay. Of the crypto MB design that you have, does it deploy or no?
The WASM filter design.
Yeah, I think that's the one. Yep. It would, here, I'll share. So this one I just grabbed from the discussion that you were having inside of Slack under the performance channel. So
Yes.
everybody can go find it if you'd like. It's in the performance channel. I think this is the one. I just loaded it up here in the design. And it is a valid design. It has an error only because this particular environment already has this resource deployed, and that's fine. Kubernetes will just redeploy on top, so it's fine. So yeah, I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, does this do what it is supposed to do?
It says deployed, but yeah, I have to try it in I have not tried in the current change. Like I had been trying with the error only, so that was I was stuck. But since now it's working, I'll again try it in the CLI to see if it works. Like if this works, then I have to deploy the application. Then only we'll know if the entire step is completed or not.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, hopefully we would be able to check in here so Pranav, this occasionally happens where the view selectors don't load that, and that's just a loading thing, probably.
Yeah.
I couldn't find them in the database. They probably won't be there. I refresh. I'll probably lose my dark mode. But so we just deployed that design, the crypto MB design, and hopefully we would be able to use Visualizer to determine whether or not that was successful.
Yes.
If we only care about maybe Istio operator and Istio system.
Mhm.
So inside of Istio system,
We have the Istio operator.
so there's the operator that's helping control the Istio control plane deployment, which is this one here. This is the Istio control plane. There's Istio D. There's an ingress and an egress. Great, very basic Istio deployment. This operator is helping control the life cycle of these three. Good. Now, we also had defined some amount of a workload and to load up a filter. And so if we were to go,
Actually, that design, just what it does is that just applies a specific annotation to ingress gateway port. So I can see in the visualizer that annotation was applied. So if I could, should I share my screen? Or you can also see that. Same. That's the only, like, the design just does that. So it doesn't do
Okay.
anything with filters so far. If you click
Okay.
on ingress, okay. Yeah, ingress, this one, yeah, right one. Actually, if you also see a deployment as well, like currently you're just filtered on ports. If you also click deployment, yeah. Now if you click on ingress, yeah, you'll see that crypto Tom wall delay 10 millisecond was applied. Yeah, proxy is to the fifth one. Yeah, this one. This was the only thing that it does. It's add this annotation to this specific deployment.
nice. Okay, well, that's good. So that design is successful. That's it's probably 2/3 of the battle, hopefully, or at least here. So we're able to deploy Istio, and then we're able to annotate the Istio configuration specific for this use case of deploying a crypto WebAssembly filter. And so, Mr. Subedi, do you have a design that has a WebAssembly filter configured?
No.
There's the image hub that could work as a sample app. And that's that's actually like, for the most part, that's enough to test. It is time for us to ask Xin Hong for like where their filter is and what the configure that filter is.
So Shin did like said that wait. Okay. Just a minute.
Okay. There, so it would be potentially
So Shin did inform me about CSR thing. Wait, what is it? Yeah. Secured connection. So he gave us like a script or something that that he used to deploy a certificate to Meshery or kubectl, and then through that we need to run a performance profile using the secured ingress host. So I guess that's the next step from now. Like after we deploy the Istio Chrome, like crypto MB, we have to deploy this.
okay. Yeah, we should. Oh, okay, good. Should probably confirm a little bit more with him, maybe on some of those particulars.
Yes.
So in this particular playground, here is close this. Here's the CLI version of the playground. Inside of the playground, there's a custom resource definition for WASM plugins. That's a custom resource that comes from the Istio project.
Okay.
The visual representation of one of those, a WASM plugin, is here. This is a WASM plugin. Its name is HTTP bin rate limiting. So this is just like an example app. HTTP bin as a sample app to then configure a deployment of it and expose it as a service, but also to have an envoy filter associated to that deployment to those pods. Right now, there's no, if we get these custom resources, there's no custom resources defined on the cluster. So if we were to take this and point it at the cluster, this is pointing to default. Just briefly, just before we do this deployment, to confirm whether or not HTTP bin is already on the cluster. There is one here. It was deployed an hour ago during some tests, this very same test, that's fine. But I wonder if but there's no WASM filter CR defined. So that if this is successful, one would hope that we would get a new WebAssembly. Good, so we've got a new custom resource defined, the same one that we just looking at. If we were to go inspect it, ensure that it has the same config that we just, so yeah, you can see some of the Meshery config that is being used, and blah, 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 blah. And here's the URL to the filter that we want for Istio to use, Envoy to use. It should be the case that if I visit this URL, I'm expecting that I would receive a WebAssembly filter being pushed to me. I'm not sure that that's happening though, Mr. Pranav.
Yes, probably
Maybe
this filter is empty. That's the reason we are not seeing anything. Because I have tested it, it was downloading this one.
Yeah, very good. It could be an empty. So that's something to be examined, but we can also go examine this particular HTTP bin deployment in the pod there and see if it has an Envoy sidecar and if that sidecar has a filter. Oh my gosh, it's a lot of layers deep in virtualization. So if we go get the pod go get the pods inside of the default namespace, HTTP bin, this one. And here's an issue for us, is it says that there's only one container running inside of this pod, which means there's no Envoy sidecar, which then leads us to question whether or not Istio is configured in the way in which we had desired for it to be. One way to validate that is to get the default namespace and look at the labels that are on that namespace. Labels, I would be expecting to see an Istio label here that would identify that particular namespace as being on the mesh, and so it's been ages since I've labeled it. Anyway, we don't have to. We don't have to derail the meeting necessarily. There's some decks out here that there's a lot of training out here if anybody wants this stuff. Some of these decks talk about what command to use to get your Istio system labeled. Anyway, of the agenda that we had for the rest of the meeting, are we sideswiping it? Are we So there's Istio injection is not configured for it. So there's no data plane configured here. So there should be a sidecar injector. Oops. Here. So sorry, so I was doing this kind of fast, but basically, if you want to validate the configuration of your Istio deployment, this is one of the ways to do that. We would hopefully in time make a lot of this easier inside of MeshMap. This is great use cases actually for all of you that are on the call, all of you that were on yesterday's call. We were talking about, we were openly asking ourselves, hey, how do we want to visually represent these various configurations? And it's like, because right now it's like, this is, eventually this is going to be a lot easier to read and grok than this stuff is. But we need for relationships like this to exist so that it's really obvious, like, oh, this is a sidecar and there's a filter associated. And then when things are deployed, we want to make sure that it's easy enough for us to, instead of me going over here, it's kind of an anti-pattern for Meshery at this point. I should be able to say, wait, I wanted to introspect these namespaces and see if there was a particular label called Istio injection. Oh, I should be able to go over to here and say, I'm interested in namespaces. Here's all the namespaces in the cluster. I'm interested in, well, the default namespace, actually, because I want to know if that's where we provisioned our sample app, HTTP bin. And I want to know, what labels does this namespace have? And here's a good feature request for the visualizer. That label information is available. And we were seeing on the default namespace, kubectl get namespace default. There's annotations, there's labels, there's 2 labels. So a great feature here is to just expose the details of those labels. It says that it's a default label. Yeah.
Actually, I think that's just the namespace name.
Mr. Chatterjee, who was working on this before, he probably didn't know his names from his labels or whatever. But so anyway, this can be enhanced. These are great use cases. Anytime that we open up the CLI, it's like a great use case for making sure that Visualizer can do that. So that namespace doesn't carry the correct label. In order for Istio as a tool to do what it wants to do, it uses a sidecar injector. And we can verify whether or not the presence of that sidecar injector by looking at the deployments. And in this case, the deployment would be an Istio system. We don't have to look at it here. We should be able to look at it here. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Istio system deployment. Oh, we want to find the one that is labeled as the sidecar injector. If I would copy and paste. So if I get all deployments that are labeled with this label Istio, and this might be an old command at this point, or it might not be. It might be that this just isn't, our deployment isn't set up just yet. I'm not entirely sure. I do know that there's one other thing that we would be missing, and that would be a label on the default namespace called Istio injection. That was the label that I was looking for a moment ago. Right here, this Istio injection label. What's their value? We should be able to just apply a new label. Apply a new label to the default namespace of Istio injection equal true, I think, what it is.
We
And
can do that with designer as well, right? We have the option to apply labels.
And so, yeah, let's do that real fast. Then maybe I'll give the control back to you guys. If we were to try to label this namespace with, the key would be Istio. Or is it Istio injection? Lowercase, uppercase. injection. I believe if memory serves, the value is true. Good. Hopefully we've got an updated deployment that we could go redeploy. That if our visualizer was retrieving those labels, we would be able to see it. So that, yeah, let's see if this had the effect that we were looking for. Don't see it there, but that might be because I did it wrong. Come here, labels. I wonder if this is doing injection. Sure. Yes, please. All right, so there's my cloud icon. Saved it. We open it back. Oops, I'm sorry. We open it back up. We got it. Okay, good. Deployed. Does anybody else talk to themselves that much? Is it just me? All right. So we probably do have to re-verify here. Okay. Am I doing it wrong?
Probably it's a bug which we need to find, because ideally a label when applied from designer should be applied, because that's the use case.
Yeah. Injection. True.
Oh,
Okay.
it came.
Maybe, I guess uppercase, lowercase makes it so true. Well, all right. So I don't know if anyone else is enjoying this. This is kind of bothersome to me, but if we go back and look at the deployments that are inside the default namespace, and the one that we care about is this HTTP pin. If we were to bump that guy, like, it's not the deployment that we really want to bump. It's more like the pod. It's HTTP in pod. If we shoot it in the head, it's violent. We delete this one. Avert your eyes. Don't look. Hopefully, if Istio injector is configured correctly, like if our Istio deployment is correct, we find that this would come back up as of 5 seconds ago, but that it would say 1 of 2, or it would say 2 of 2. And I don't know that our Istio injector is, I might have to go refresh my memory. That's what happens when you write a book on a subject and then you just forget. So, I need to go look. I think everyone else is bored. Like maybe some people learned a couple of items. I'll go look up to make sure I've got the right Istio config.
Okay, so next item is from Antoinette on Meshery adapter deployment. So I think Antoinette is not with us today, but probably we can then skip this item. But it's a little bit of context about it is like, we were just discussing about Meshery. Meshery has different adapters, and the work of each adapter is to have different functionalities of different service meshes. So the issue is all about, if you go to this page, the ask is that when we click like on and off, then the work should be that behind the scenes, Meshery should be able to deploy and undeploy its own adapters. Like it should be able to add, like deploy the deployment, basically specific ports for each of these adapters. Currently, Meshery ships with all the adapters, but users should be given a choice to which adapter they would like to use. So that is about this issue. So hopefully we'll have this update later on Slack. So moving on is an item from Sonali and Sudhanshu on support for Meshmap snapshot across all repo. So are they on the call? Abhi, would you like to give an overview on this? If you are.
Yeah, just a minute.
Okay.
I'll circle it back. Was
Okay.
in the one. So
Okay. Okay. British, would you like to discuss about your topic on observability in playground?
Okay, sure. So basically, okay, let me just share my screen.
Okay.
Where is it? So yeah, so actually it was about like adding Grafana instead of the playground cluster, and I wrote the manifest and everything. But one thing that was missing is to verify if like Grafana was detected instead of the setting of the playground, which actually I recently made it work, but. The result was actually not what I was expecting because the goal was actually to use Prometheus as like a data source for Grafana, but yeah, that data source actually was is still not found by Grafana, and like I mean the Grafana is running and everything, but there is no data source for him to show any chart or anything. So yeah, that's actually on what I'm currently stuck. But yeah, I'm currently still like trying to like yeah keep trying to like to see what's probably wrong. I will just probably try to currently we are using an image for node exporter. So I don't know, I will just like write a config file map for that and just try to redeploy it on my minikube and yeah, and just to see if how it goes.
Yeah. Okay.
So my second, okay.
But yeah, just before you go to the next one, Thibaut, are you perhaps you're in need of a Grafana dashboard or a dashboard definition? Because the
Yeah.
Grafana-
Actually, hello.
Yep. Good. That's solvable. You can grab the dashboard definition from Istio if you want, or there should be any number of other public Grafana dashboard definitions that retrieve common metrics from the node exporter.
Okay.
Or the,
Okay.
like, it doesn't have to be fancy or anything like that, but you just, you need some CPU, some memory, that do you, even if it was just a couple of. Here's the thing, you'll know that you're being successful even without Grafana. If you just have Prometheus deployed and you connect Meshery to that Prometheus instance, you can, Meshery will just start to collect directly from Prometheus and will begin, while it won't display metrics in Meshery UI, because you would first have to define what metrics you want to display, and that's where Grafana and its dashboard definitions come in. In MeshMap, it doesn't care about Grafana dashboard definitions. It just says, if there is a Prometheus that I can talk to, I will ask, and you click on a pod in Visualizer, it will just try to retrieve the memory and CPU for that pod from Prometheus. So you can skip Grafana and skip for MeshMap anyway, for the Visualizer.
Yeah.
So granted, we do want to get the rest of Meshery UI up with a Grafana dashboard, but you could, make it easy on yourself, set aside Grafana for the moment and just do the node exporter and Prometheus and yeah.
All right. I think that's like I will try it. Okay, for my second item is about refactoring the code for MeshMap snapshot. So here it will. Okay. So yeah. So basically, the issue was to use GitHub Action Composite to improve like the code base. I already opened a PR for that, like for a first try. So I just like kind of waiting for feedback on that, and yeah, maybe keep like improving it.
Yeah, so Avi's here now. Hopefully he can give some feedback on this right now.
All right.
Yeah.
Abby, have you seen this PR on Meshmap Snapshot?
Yeah, just show it, like not that's code refactor, right? So please add few more description if you can. And
All right.
yeah, and actually what you are doing here. So I see like there are multiple Cypress. I mean there are a few different action YAML files that are open, but
Yeah.
it's worth only when all these actions run in sync, and they don't get out of sync, and there is some result exported out of the running action. So how did you try it? Like did you try it on your local branch? Like did you tested your changes?
No, no, not. I didn't test it. No.
Yeah, so
Okay, okay. I think that I will do that and just like ping you on Slack to let you know.
Yeah, how can you, by the
Yeah.
way, this is how, by the way, this, maybe we should spend a moment because it would be nice if other people were using this workflow, getting mesh map snapshots on their forks, or on if they have a different repo with another Kubernetes manifest or a Helm chart. Abhi, how do you recommend that Thibaut goes about performing his testing? I think the answer to that might also help some of the rest of the folks on the call potentially
Yeah.
start to use it as well.
yeah, just 1 minute. Yeah, so first off, like there are less control on what you can see here. I mean, what you can do on the layer 5 mesh web snapshot. So I just approve your branch, and it has some failing tests. Although some tests are failing and there is an open issue on it. But how you can test your changes locally is what I'm demonstrating right now. That you can open the PR against your branch, and you will have all the permissions assigned to you. So you can just see your logs, check out like yeah. So you can open your PR against your branch, against your master, and then you can try out testing or do the things like what changes it made. Other than that, there should be this there are some I mean there are some actions that are running against pull request target, so they don't run upon your PR. So you will only get the result of actual how your code performed when your I mean these changes merge to your master branch. So
Okay.
if you have merged this to your master branch and you will open a PR, so all these actions will fire up, and they will you will see some tests passing or failing. Even right now you can check what are the things that are failing and passing.
Okay. Cool. Uh,
So if you're seeing here, like I think it is coming from your change. That is,
yes.
you may check this out and correct these issues. Or if you need some
All
help,
right.
yeah, please.
All right. Got it.
I think there's one more item for Pradesh.
Before
Would
that,
you like
like I
to?
can,
Okay.
yeah, I can just quickly cover that item so that there is a gap between British. Uh, so yeah, this one where we are about to support mesh map snapshot across all the Meshery repository. So, or we should say Meshery organizations that we have created. For example, this one. So there are a bunch of spin repository that hold some high priority, and these changes should flow this way. Right now, Meshery has the support of mesh web snapshot, but we need that same action to be replicated and to be running against all the PRs made against all these other repositories as well. Right? So that's what the task is actually here. So there is already a well-written README documentation, like how you can proceed with it, how you can add it, and what is the example usage. There is already an implementation in the Meshery as well. This is the layer 5 IO repository. You can edit here as well. But so there was a PR. I'll put the PR. I don't waste the time searching it here, but you'll see the .github workflows. Inside it, you'll see that meshmap.yaml, and it's where the meshmap screenshot fires up. So there is a pull request attached with it. I think you'll get it from the blame. So somewhere like I think this. Yeah, so trigger workflow run on pull request. So that was the original PR which added that support. So all in all, what I was just signaling you is like there is enough resources for what you have to replicate and how you have to proceed. There is an I think guide available as well, where there is a there is a tutorial of how you can set up the meshmap snapshot action via Meshery Cloud as well. So you might have a look there as well. Yeah.
Abhi, are you asking people to go do this, or are you?
I think Senali and Sudhanshu are, I mean, assigned to this task, and I don't think they are here right now.
Maybe
They're just
somebody.
in, yeah, talking in general.
Yeah. Ananya, do you think you're up for this, or does anyone else on the call want to try one of these?
Yeah, sure. I'll look into it.
Nice. Good. Good. Now I detect that that's one of those answers where you're being a good sport and you will do what you say. You will go check into it and look at it, but that you also really don't know what you're signing yourself up for. Or is that not true? How might you look into it? How do you get it going?
Currently, I'm not too sure about it, but yeah.
Good. That's a good. It's a fine response. It's just that that doesn't fly around here, and I don't mean in a bad way. I just mean in a very healthy way. We're here to help everybody grow and the project grow. And so it very easily could be me that's sitting in Ananya's seat saying, yeah, I'm here to engage and do stuff. I don't know what the heck you're talking about, but I'd love to do it, and I will. So we should help Ananya get going. And Abhi, that's basically my point of whatever you just said to everyone. If we got to make sure that it's meaningful to people. So Ananya doesn't have the instructions from what you had just said, so he's not going to be successful helping out. How can he do it?
Yeah, as I said, like there is a Meshery doc available. I'll put the link in chat in a while, and then you can have a look at current implementation in Meshery as well. So these are the two references that you will be taking while implementing the solution.
Yeah, but no, it's supposed to be. I mean, look, it's supposed to be a feature that's supposed to be easy to use. People are supposed to be able to just go to, hey, if you want to use Mesh, if you want to get a snapshot of what your infrastructure looks like based on Mesh Map, loading up that infrastructure right now, you can do that inside of your every pull request. You can. That it only supports visualizing a Helm chart. And Abhi, that's a tar-gz Helm chart, right?
It supports both Kubernetes manifest as well as Helm chart. tar-gz Helm chart via URL.
Oh, nice. Okay, so this is open for anyone to do, and this is Ananya. Here's the quick the dime tour. This is one of those steps that when people first join Meshery Cloud, they get presented with like, hey, here's some initial setup that you can do. And this is just a super brief description of like, hey, if you'd like to have a snapshot of your Kubernetes manifest or your Helm chart, follow these instructions. See your deployment before you merge, connect Meshmap to your GitHub repo, and see changes, pull request to pull request. Okay, fine. So if you click to set it up, then you're presented with this wizard. Okay, so we're going to determine what. So I'm gonna not walk through the rest because one, no one wants to listen to me talk anymore. Two, people are supposed to be able to do it by following the wizard. And if that's not the case, then the wizard isn't as good as it needs to be. The only thing that you all need to do, you have to bring two things and I encourage you to go execute this. It's kind of neat. You just have to bring two things. One of them is very easy to bring. They're both very easy to bring. So bring a repository, one of your own repositories. It can be an existing repository. It can be a brand new one that you just go create. It doesn't really have to have much in it. The reason that you want to bring one is so that whenever a pull request is opened up on a repo that you control, you can get a screenshot, a snapshot. Right. But if that repo, like what would that repo snapshot? Well, that's the second thing that you have to bring. So create your own repo or just use an existing repo that you have. You'll step through and choose that repo, whichever one it is. The second thing you have to bring, and it's the same answer for everyone, or it can be the same answer for everyone. And I'll just give it to you right now. You just need to bring what Abhi was saying, either a Helm chart or a Kubernetes manifest. I'll give you all one right now, and you can use that one, or you can go grab any other that you want to. I'm just going to give everyone like maybe the latest Meshery release. Is it 112? Boom. I'm just going to give you all this link here. So this is just, I'll give you this link here. And that's it. You'll use that link to the Meshery Helm chart as you step through that wizard, wherever that is. Anyway, somewhere. You can also do this if you have that in your clipboard like I do. You could also, just for giggles, because it's really fun, you can come over and just import the app here. And this is so much fun. If only these jokes were more funny, that would be a lot more fun. But you can just paste this in, import. I now have hopefully a new application that's all about being fun. Abhi, any idea as to whether or not I should expect that would show up right about here-ish, somewhere here?
Yeah.
Yeah, looks like
I mean,
GraphQL.
audible.
You are now. I heard you say yeah.
I think I have like internet today, so.
Good. Good. Hey, here's our Helm chart. Ooh, dude, it was cool. It's pretty cool looking a second ago. See if we can get that back or something. Oh, sweet. Anyway, if you'd love to have super sweet looking screenshots like this in your repo, here's the link. You can use any Helm chart or Kubernetes manifest that you want, but that's the only thing you need. What'll be interesting is if you do connect that feature to one of your own repositories, I have no idea. You will be working more with GitHub workflows. The GitHub workflow that Thibaut was just refactoring and he was showing how he was going to refactor it. Well, that's the workflow that runs to take the snapshots. I'm going to share my rest of my screen because I think everyone knows what we're the goal and what the goal looks like. The goal looks like if you successfully set up mesh map snapshot on your repository, then it would be the case that anytime you open up a pull request on your repo, I'm just going to go, that you'd get a snapshot of that Helm chart of that Kubernetes manifest. So cool. It's a new feature. Thibaut has worked on it. He's working on it now, and other people have worked on it. So it's always nice to get feedback. Who's gonna, so Ananya is gonna try that, I know. Anybody else gonna try it? I can't make it any more simple for you. That's as simple as it gets. By the way, Abi wrote, Abi's the, well, Abi and Harkarat and Uzair, and now Thibaut, the people with the big shoulders behind this feature. So they're the ones that made it happen. Yeah, go try it, and it should work. When it, and I'm interested, and they're interested in when it doesn't work, and also how crappy the documentation is, or whatever complaints that you have. That's what we want to hear. So.
You should start with the README mesh map snapshot README thing, or the docs. Just I mean, the doc that Pranav provided is the gist of what's written in the README. So yeah, you should start with that ideally, and then you can move to what Lee said, like
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
but if you, well, having said all of that though, from a user perspective, like no user should ever see this, because it's just unless they really need to understand that, like, you know,
they don't need to read the functional sequence diagram, but since it is an action, like they might be interested in seeing how the example usage looks like.
And they would probably, I would like to know if I would like for it to run on a different OS. Is that okay? Or no? Or can I run it on a different schedule? Or like where can I configure this? And I only want to trigger it when there's a certain, only on PRs that have a certain label, maybe, like how much of that is supported, and what would happen if I upgraded to the next snapshot version? Would I lose that customization? Or
yeah, that's why yep.
Okay, well, I'm creating an issue right now because I have questions. Anybody else have questions?
Probably like customizing this from Meshery Cloud UI would also be helpful, because that is the first place to start. I'm just asking, like, I don't think it's there in our current release.
Yeah, right. And by the way, Abi was working on about 8 other things at the time that he was doing this other stuff. So I'm mostly harassing him on the call with like, hey, what if I messed up the config? Would that still work? And I suspect he's saying, I don't know, go try it. But to what Pranav just said, that Pranav, that sounds, I mean, everybody else should think about this, but to me, that sounds like, oh, hey, that's probably the right answer. Is like, yeah, ideally the workflow is flexible. Maybe you don't want a snapshot on every PR. Maybe it's just on a certain label or whatever. And yeah, if you want to do that customization, well, because part of how you set it up, the workflow is automatically generated and written for you to make it really convenient. If you were to customize it, the next time that you reconnect the repo or you adjust the integration, those customizations might be overridden. And so, but if you follow what Pranav said, and some of those options are exposed here, then Meshery as a system can be responsible for ensuring that your customizations stay intact. It's one approach. in the short term, it is just documenting what happens. Like, hey, you're welcome to customize the trigger. When you go to upgrade to the next version or you reconnect your repo, be aware an overwrite might happen or not. But just having that documented would be. So Ananya or anyone who goes to do this, I'd love for you to test that out. Like, don't have a trigger, change the trigger, and then go back to Meshery Cloud and reconfigure the integration and see if your customization gets overridden. Anyway. I didn't realize we're over.
Yeah. I think we're over time, so we can discuss the remainder item in the next call. So I think everybody learned something new today. So in case you want to work on any of the stuff which we have discussed, so either you can ask on Slack or the discussion forum, or you can create an issue on any of the repos where you would like to work. So I think that's all for today. So thank you for joining all. We'll see you on the next call.
Yeah, I had one quick question. So when we upgrade Meshery CTL using Brew, does it not update the Meshery config file automatically? Like the build version remains the old one.
The Meshery Playground is automatically upgraded on release.
No, the system one. Like I have Meshery CTL installed. Now I upgraded using Brew upgrade Meshery CTL. So I have to manually change the config version.
Maybe I misunderstood. I was expecting you to say, hey, if I do Meshery CTL system update, is my CLI, is my Meshery CTL, is it upgraded? Was that the question?
The Meshery CTL gets upgraded, but the Meshery build version in Meshery config file, it remains the old previous version. Like it does not change into the new version.
Right.
So when I run Meshery CTL system start, it starts the old version, old Meshery.
Yeah, the way that that's on purpose in case people have configured their. I'll show you real fast. Like, let's say that you're running Meshery in production and you are comfortable with the current version of Meshery, but you're not quite sure about the next one, and so you'd like to pin at a specific version. So you don't. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, that's supported. This is going to answer your question, I swear. Here's my current context, my mesh config for how to run Meshery. Here's how I want my Meshery configured. Well, it's set to be at the latest, like what channel is it subscribed to? The stable channel, not the edge channel, okay? Are we pinning to a specific version, 6.112? No, it's more of a subscription in this case, because it's like, well, I just want to stay on latest. So every time that I start and stop Meshery, I want it to pull the latest containers. So if your version says latest, that should be the behavior then, Mr. Subedi.
Okay.
But
okay.
Yeah. Like if I just to help kind of prove, there's some controls around that, by the way. You can do up as you do you can do like a skip read. There's some controls around like resetting that config, but if I just do this, first of all, it's going to say, hey, you're not running Docker. Do you want to run it? Sure. Well, now it's Docker starting on my system. And Docker should start before that CLI times out. So I'll just share my screen fully. So it did it. It popped up Docker for me. Great. And Docker engine is there. The Kubernetes is almost there. At some point, this would probably continue, and it would. I'm sorry, I meant to execute Meshery system start. Okay, because I wanted to prove to you that part of that it is treated like a subscription, such that this is weird. I guess I accidentally killed this a second ago. Because what it should do is a pull at the same time that it goes to start and it begins to talk to Docker, it would do a pull to just treat it as a subscription.
Oh, okay, yeah, I understood. So for me, the version says 1.0.109. So maybe I changed it somewhere and it like screwed up something. So it's not latest for me. So maybe that's the reason why it was pulling the old version. Understood. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks a bunch for hosting, Pranav.
Okay. Bye, everyone. See you in the next one.
See you guys. Bye all.